Hi, I'm your biodegradable, eco-friendly host Bart Riley, here for Ideas to Inspire Ideas, the show all about recycling creativity. This idea is specifically about taking the American Western, spaghetti Western genres and putting that aesthetic in the outback of Australia. But for the sake of this video, it can apply to whatever country you live in. I'm just using Australia to demonstrate the thought process involved. While I don't have a full written brief for the story of this untitled Australian Western, I did start the explanation for it. This film will take advantage of Australia's desert landscapes and small towns to recreate the feel of the American Western and spaghetti Western genres in a more modern age. Inspired by the classic Western films like those starring John Wayne and the works of Sergio Leone, as well as Australian-based films like Red Dog and The Hunter. That's it. The main character is Gordon, an aging farmer who, due to the extreme heat and drought, has pretty much given up farming and is sitting on his property waiting to die. Rather depressing, honestly. But due to certain circumstances, comes into conflict with both the local law enforcement and the restless youths of the nearby town, as well as an old friend and colleague of his who comes into town and causes more problems for everyone, which Gordon gets blamed for. Out of all my ideas, the center point that I really wanted for this movie is a chase scene late at night with Gordon on horseback and 3 or 4 teenagers driving their car through his property and trying to run him down. And through his knowledge of the land and a horse that can jump, drives the car into a ditch, accidentally killing a couple of them, but leaving one injured enough to force Gordon into looking after him while trying to hide the bodies and car, demonstrating both his quick wit in tough situations as well as some medical training. Unfortunately, the chief of police is just a jerk to Gordon and really hounds to put the blame on him. Must have slept through it. Don't remember any paddock bashes. Well, that's not the part that worries me. Apparently there was also gunshots, what sounded like a car crash, and then a fire, all on your property. Are you going to tell me you slept through all of those as well? What can I say? I'm a heavy sleeper. And now we even have a missing persons report filed this afternoon. 2 young men had a night out and no one has seen them since 3 a.m. Are you trying to imply something or are you just making awkward chat? Do you have any weapons on the premises? I have a license. Which, as I said, was not his fault. The kids were doing the wrong thing, but no witnesses means no evidence in his favour. In Gordon's favour, there is a younger cadet on the police force who actually does take a liking to Gordon and tries to defend him. Whether he does so in time is another issue. Now, in regards to the old colleague coming back to town and causing problems, you've looked better. So have you. Gordon had been friends with this guy a long time ago while working as a stockman, which is the Australian equivalent of the gunslinger cowboy type. If you're curious, our best example is The Man from Snowy River by poet Banjo Patterson. I considered a sub-theme of tradition versus progress, where he's in a war with the local gangs, mostly the Aboriginal children who don't know or care about their own culture. This was one of the earlier ideas I got rid of. On a tangent, the fastest I ever threw out a YouTube discussion idea was one called Culturally Appropriate Captain Boomerang. As well as not being a big DC fan, I knew right away I was not the person to talk about that. Even taking into account that I spent 2 years at an Aboriginal school, I was dumb enough to run away from a boomerang demonstration. Just the fastest way to a concussion. But the driving conflict with this outlaw type is that he's been living off the land in these Aboriginal traditions and just hates how the new generation just can't be bothered learning about any of it. I would take a lot of care with the offended white person on behalf of someone else's culture trope. Prior to the climactic battle, Gordon goes to the hospital in secret and visits the kid that he helped earlier, who thanks Gordon for saving him and confesses that he didn't really want to go to the property in the first place, as well as saying he'll confess to get Gordon out of trouble, with Gordon responding with, it's fine, don't bother, with the implication that Gordon has accepted his own death at this point, finally luring the police force and his old friend to his farm to end things. Through the excessive police force, Gordon's house is burnt down. He ends up severely injured in that old ditch, with his horse by his side and the young cadet finding him to say farewell. And with that, his decision to leave the police force, having no respect for a captain who just ordered the death of an old man. Oh god, hashtag not all cops. Damn it! Giving this particular idea away is both very hard and very easy for me. It's very hard because this was supposed to be a tribute to my dad. He's still alive. He's a big fan of all the old westerns. I grew up watching some of them with him. He still buys the paperback western novels from the newsagent, which I thought about collecting myself and having them in Gordon's house to slowly burn at the end of the film, which is a bad way to honour him in hindsight. My dad's had previous run-ins with Australia's gun laws, which aren't as psychotic as America's. He's a responsible gun owner who still had to give his guns away. And I was going to use that in the police chief's incentive to target Gordon. And I feel bad that I don't have this tribute to him anymore, because it was also supposed to be a collaboration that is no longer happening. When this particular friend and I were younger, they told me about their idea of a group of criminals hiding from the law in a very dangerous jungle region. It was either called Devil Canyon or Devil Jungle. I can't remember which one. But I took that idea and turned it into a group of scientists looking for a magical flower, which at the time I didn't realize I stole from anacondas. I've never seen that movie. I stole it from the trailer. I feel so bad about how I stole that idea. I never want to do it again. And in my mind, this has always been a collaborative project. That's why I only wrote half a brief, because we were supposed to talk about it together. I wanted to honour my dad, and they just wanted to honour the westerns. And if they still want to do it by themselves, that's fine. I've only been talking about my ideas. But I can't do it without them, and it sure as hell isn't happening with them. This is officially me cutting ties. Probably shouldn't have taken that literally. Thanks for watching. This is my verbal declaration that I will not sue anyone for using the previous outline to create their own work, regardless of how much fame or money you might get from it. I'm definitely not the kind of artist who thinks I can own a concept. However, I would like to see what comes out of this video just for comparison and curiosity. If you do make something or find an existing piece that's similar, please let me know through Twitter or Facebook or email, and I'll happily check it out. And if you want to see the ideas I am working on for myself, please visit my Patreon page for samples and previews, no payment required. Happy creating, Bard Riley out. This is officially me cutting ties. Me cutting ties. is officially me cutting ties. This is officially me cutting ties. This is officially me cutting ties.